Did you know that there are over 80,000 injured workers in Georgia every year?
And joining us today is workers' compensation attorney Rich Griffin of the Griffin Law Firm, who has been winning, and we mean winning, workers' compensation claims for over 30 years. Welcome to ATL Live, Rich.
Thanks. It's glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, we have to start out with the basics, right? What is workers' compensation?
Workers' comp is something that is a little different than personal injury. Everybody's used to personal injury where you're hurt in a car accident. If you're hurt on the job, then that is going to be a different set of laws. And basically, it means you're doing your job and you're doing something for the benefit of your employer, and you get hurt. You don't have to prove negligence. You just have to be doing your job and get hurt. And you get a lot of benefits. You get medical expenses. Your treatment is taken care of. You get your lost wages paid. So there's a lot of benefits to it, but there's also some big differences.
Yeah, well, speaking of those differences, I would love for you to break it down for us between workers' comp and personal injury, because there is a big difference there.
Yes. One of the big things is that in personal injury, you got to prove negligence. You got to prove someone did something wrong to cause the accident. In workers' comp, you don't have to prove negligence, but you don't get pain and suffering. And that's a big part of a personal injury case. That may be the biggest part where you get the most money. So that really is hard for an injured worker to understand, and it often makes it where I have to go through a lot of explanation. There's a lot of compromise to workers' comp, but that doesn't mean that you can't get great settlements, and it does mean that there's a huge need for an attorney to fight to make sure you get all those benefits that you're entitled to.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's tack on to that conversation here and talk about how you can increase the value of your client's case.
Well, it is absolutely important that you have an attorney, and I've done this for 30 years, like you said, and certainly making sure that when the doctor takes you off work, we fight to get those benefits paid. The other thing that happens a lot is you get told you need to have an MRI or need to have an injection, need to see a surgeon. It never gets authorized. Well, I'm there to make sure that I'm fighting for that injured worker. If you don't have an attorney doing that, it may never happen. We keep them moving and authorizing it. And by doing that, that means that they're going to want to settle that case first. And they know they're going to have to pay more. They're not going to get away with paying less.
Yeah, that's important information for what you're doing, but how about for the patient and the client? What can they be doing to maximize their value?
Well, hire an attorney and hire an experienced one. And you need to go to the doctor. Don't miss those appointments. If you miss the appointments, then the adjuster is going to think you're not hurt. You got to keep in touch with your employer to make sure they know you're going to the doctor. You don't want to get fired for not showing up. You want to make sure they know about your work restrictions, and you want to stay within those restrictions. The doctor gives you those so that you don't get hurt any more than you already have. So those are important. But probably the most important thing is to let me be able to settle your case at the right time. And the right time is when you're still actively treating and when you're still receiving those checks.
Okay, well, speaking of checks, Rich, let's get into some of the biggest workers' compensation settlements that you've had.
I'll be glad to. I've done it for 30 years, so I've got a lot of good ones to talk about. The biggest one I have to talk about today involved a back and a leg injury, $632,500 for a workers' comp case. A hip injury, I got $242,500. Back and knee injury, $200,000. Back injury, $162,500. Another back injury for $110,000, and an elbow injury probably about 3 weeks ago, I beve. I got $100,000 from my client.
Wow. It's impressive.
Wow.
Yeah, we're giving a big wow to that. But even more impressive, you have over 200 five-star reviews on Google, and that's extremely impressive when it comes to business. What makes your clients so happy, would you say?
Well, I tell you this, I'm passionate about what I do. I love helping people. And it's something that, I've done for 30 years. And I really, it's one of those things where I've assembled a team and we are compassionate. We're going to treat our clients like family. When you are our client, you're a part of the family. We're going to communicate and we're going to deliver great results. And so that means people like to tell other people about it, and they give us those great results. And I tell you, there are times where I've had a client say, this settlement has made a difference in our life. This is a game changer where we're going to be able to provide better for our family. And that's brought tears to my eyes before. I mean, it really means a lot.
Wow, thank you so much, Rich. We appreciate you. If you've been seriously injured in an accident, contact attorney Rich Griffin by visiting richgriffin.com or by calling 404-777-RICH. The Griffin Law Firm is all in for your win.